So for this part of lecture, we are going to learn about quadratic inequalities, and our learning objective is by the end of this lesson, you should be able to solve quadratic inequalities by using either graphical or algebraic methods. So these are the definitions of quadratic inequalities. There are different types of inequalities that we have. So there are four types. The first one is ax squared plus bx plus c greater than 0. The second one is ax squared plus bx plus c greater than or equals to 0. The third one is ax squared plus bx plus c less than 0. And the last one, ax squared plus bx plus c less than or equals to 0. So a, b, and c must be real numbers, and a cannot be equals to 0. There are different types of methods that can be used to solve the quadratic inequalities. The first method is by using graphical method, where we will look through the graph to check for our solution. And the second one is by using algebraic method. So in algebraic method, there are two different types. So the first one is the real number line, and the second one is by using table of signs. So we will look through each method one by one, and then we will check on which method which is more likable for us to use. Now we know that quadratic inequalities can be solved by using two different methods. Now let's look at the example and let's look at on how we will apply this in the real questions. So find a set of values that satisfy x squared minus 5x plus 4 greater than 0. Okay, so the first method that we are going to check is we are trying to use the graphical method. Okay, so let's check this method first, graphical method. So for us to solve by using graphical method, what we need to do is we have to find the factors, find the factors of this quadratic equation, and then check by using the graph. So we will let this as our equation, x squared minus 5x plus 4 as an equation. Let this as an equation. So factorize this equation and we will get x minus 4 and x minus 1 equals to 0. So meaning there are two values of our x, that is 4 and also x is equals to 1. Okay, so what we need to do next is we try to sketch the graph, and this is in order for us to sketch the graph, there are only two different types of graph, which are, the first one is the positive quadratic graph. So for a positive quadratic graph, that is a is greater than 0, so the graph will be curved open upwards. If a is less than 0, it will curve downwards. Okay, so for this one, just take like a number, like a straight line here to represent the axis, and then randomly just sketch the graph. So this is a greater than 0, that is going to be a positive graph, positive curve. Okay, so plot the factors that we have here. This is 1 and this is 4. Okay, so we check again the value from our question. So the question asks us to take the greater than sign. Okay, so if it is greater than 0, what we need to check is the numbers above the x-axis. So this one show that this is greater than 0. Greater than 0. Okay, this is for the condition of greater than 0. So hence, the solution that we are going to take is the one to the right side of 4 and the value of the x that is moving to the left side of 1. Okay, that is smaller than 1. So the solution set will be equals to x, and first case x less than 1. Okay, so this is what I said now. So here it's either x is less than 1 or x is greater than 4. So that is the answer. Okay, if we are going to write it in interval form, that is going to be negative infinity to 1. Okay, negative infinity to 1, union with combine with the value of 4 to infinity. So that is the value. That is that is the answer, right? So next one, we will try to solve by using the algebraic method, which is by using table of sign. Okay, so algebraic method using table of sign. Okay, this is the second method. Same questions. So x squared minus 5x plus 4 is greater than 0. Solve by using the table of sign. Okay, the first step is by making sure when we are going to solve by using table of sign, we need to make sure that one side of our equation is 0. So right hand side of our equation is 0. So that the first task is check. Okay, the second one, you have to simplify and factorize if possible. Okay, so what we will do here is we will take x squared. Again, we will also let this number equals to 0. 5x plus 4 equals to 0. Then we will try to factorize this. So factorizing this, we're gonna get x minus 1 equals to 0. And then we try to find the critical value, the value of x. So here the value of x will be x equals to 4 and x equals to 1. Okay, so then when we already have this is where our method will start. Okay, so we will plot our table of sign. Okay, so this is the table of sign that I have prepared. So this is the things that we need to put in our table of sign. Okay, so we will have the interval, test value, sign of the first factor. Okay, the first factor, so we have x minus 4, sign of the second factor, and sign of these values, both factors combined. Okay, so first thing that we will do is we take these two values here that is also called as a critical value. So we take our two values here, and then we will put that in the middle of these two tables by comparing the numbers. So 1 is here and this is 4. Okay, and then check our sign here. Okay, when we check our sign here, there is no equal sign. So for both of our equation, there is no equal sign. That should be an open circle there. put the open circle there so you will not get confused with the interval. Now we will try to write down the interval. So interval here meaning that numbers, so we have 1 here, so the number that is less than 1. Okay, so numbers that is the interval that is less than 1, we will take negative infinity to 1. Okay, and then number between the interval between 1 and 4, so that is 1 and 4. And then we need another interval 4 and infinity. Okay, so this is infinity over here, and this is negative infinity if you want to write down it like that, so that it's easier for you to check the interval. Okay, so now we need to decide on one test value that we will use to check for the sign of all the equation that we have. Okay, so test value, you have to take a test value that is inside this interval. Okay, so one between negative infinity and 1, maybe we can take 0. Okay, and then numbers in between 1 and 4, let's try to take 2. And then number between 4 to infinity, maybe we can take 5. Okay, so then what you need to do is plug in the value of 0 in the first bracket. So if x is 0, 0 minus 4 is negative, right? Okay, and then take the same number 0 into this one, x minus 1. So 0 minus 1 is also negative. Okay, leave the lowest part for now. Let's try to compute this one. So if you put 2 here, 2 minus 4, that is a negative number. And then if we take 2 minus 1, that is positive. 5 minus 4 is a positive number. Then 5 minus 1, we get 4, that is also a positive number. We are just concerned about the sign. That is why the title of the table is Table of Signs. Okay, so now to cut it short, there are two methods that you can do to find the value on the bottom line here. Okay, so it's either you plug in the value here, 0 and 0, and then you times the answer, solve the answer, or you can just check it downwards. So after we solve it to the right, after we solve horizontally, then we will solve vertically. Okay, so negative and negative is going to be positive. A negative and positive will be negative. A positive and positive number will be a positive value, because that is a multiplication, right? Okay, so now how do we check and how do we decide our final answer is by checking the sign on top here. So this is greater than 0. So if it is greater than 0, what you need to do is you have to check for the solution that labeled a positive, because it is greater than 0. Okay, so because the sign is greater than 0, must check for a positive one. Okay, so in this table we found out that we have a positive, negative and positive number. So which one that we were going to choose is obviously we are going to take this one. So that is positive, this one is also positive. So that will be our solution. Now writing down our answer, solution set equals to, so remember this is where x is less than 1, or it's a union, x is greater than 4, then close our bracket. Or if we want to take it directly in interval form, you can take directly from the interval that we already have. So that is going to be negative infinity and 1. Remember, it's a union, okay, or, so that will be a union of 4 infinity. So that is our final answer and the solution for this method. So solving quadratic inequalities, again we have two different methods, graphical method and algebraic method, by using table of sign. We also have the third method, that one we will check on the next example. Okay, so yeah, let's try to check the next example by using algebraic method of real number line. Now we are still going to discuss the same question of x squared minus 5x plus 4. Now we are going to look at the third method. So it is an algebraic method, but by using a real number line. Okay, so for this one, after we have looked at the question, so we have a quadratic inequalities. So try to factorize our question. So we try to factorize x minus 1 and x minus 4 is greater than 0. Okay, so we will assume that all factors are always positive. Okay, assuming all factors are positive, so we will let x minus 1 greater than 0 and x minus 4 is greater than 0. So x is greater than 1 and x is greater than 4. So now we will plot our number line. So plotting our number line here. Say we have a number line. Okay, plot the numbers that we have. So here is 1. Let's say this one is 4. Okay. So check the value that we have. So 1, x is greater than 1. So we have to plot a line that is moving to the right. Okay, so and it's an open circle, okay, because there is no negatives, there is no equal sign there. And the next one we have x is greater than 4, so also moving to the right and also an open circle there. So for this one, then we need to make an interval. So consider that these are the different intervals that we have. So we check each stage that we have. So let's say this is a dotted line for the first part, the first condition, and this is the second case. Okay, so if we look at the first case, so we look at each interval separately. Okay, so for the first one, it is a dotted line here. So if we have a dotted line, we will put a sign negative there. Okay, and down here, for the second interval that we have, also there is a dotted line here. So put a negative sign here. And the second interval that we have, the second case, the first one, it is a negative sign because it is a dotted line, and below this we'll put that as a positive. So if we have a full line, so if we have an interval going through this part, so we put a positive sign. This one is positive and this one is also a positive. So then we will check it moving downwards. So negative and negative, that will be a positive. Negative and positive, that will be a negative. Positive and positive will be a positive sign. So then we will check that this is greater than 0. So if it is greater than 0, check the part where that is a positive sign. Okay, positive sign. Okay, so the positive part is this one and this one. So there are two answers that we have, so two set of intervals. So the solution set will be x, where x is less than 1 or x is greater than 4. And if we write down as interval, so that is going to be negative infinity 1 union with 4 to infinity. So that is the final answer. So there are three cases that we have already discussed. Okay, the first one is by using graphical method. Okay, the second one is by using algebraic method. So the first one is graphical method. The second one is algebraic method by using table of signs. And then same question we solve by using algebraic method. The third method, algebraic method, but by using real number line. So there are different methods that we can use to solve quadratic inequalities. You are free to choose which one, but in this case, so that it will be easier for us to solve the next part, I would recommend for us to just use one method, which is table of sign, because this will help us to not get confused with different types of questions. This will always be for me. Now, before we end our lecture for today, so please try to do this question and fill in the answer as a proof of your attendance for today.